Vicarage Road, Watford, April the 29th, 1972. Thousands of travelling Norwich City supporters celebrating the 1-1 draw which clinched the second division championship. It was a moment of triumph, but it was also a defining moment in the history of Norwich City. It meant that for the first time ever, they were about to take their place among the elite in British football. Promotion to the top flight, a place in what was the old First Division. Well, now, more than a quarter of a century later, this video gives you the chance to experience and relive some of the magical moments from that promotion-winning campaign. We've caught up with skipper Duncan Forbes and some of his teammates, and a lot of what you're about to see comes from a special programme put together at the time by the man who was very much the face and voice of televised football in the Anglia region for many years, Jerry Harrison. But let's begin by bringing you a taste of what's to come. There's the pick of the action from Carrow Road and beyond, courtesy of the Anglia Archive.
Pogo given the room to turn in that position, which is unusual. Now Padden with a chance to set it up on his left foot. And swinging away from the goalkeeper. Goal number 5, leaving John Burridge absolutely helpless.
We shall recall the infamous training sessions at Mousehold Heath. Myth or legend? We've the pictures to prove they really did happen, bunny hops and all. And there's that song. Not content with topping the table, the Canaries had a crack at topping the pops.
We're the football team in the yellow and green. Norwich City is our name. We will play it fair as the fans all cheer as we march on the road to fame.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
But our story starts with the arrival of Ron Saunders, who succeeded Lowell Morgan as manager at Norwich City in July 1969. What did he think of the playing staff?
A mixed bunch, some good players, some not so good, some good types of players, you know, as individuals, and some not so good types. And obviously the problem was to sort them out.
What was the first thing you did?
Sorted them out.
And that sorting out process meant a few changes, not least on the training ground, as we shall hear shortly. 6 new players were brought in at a total cost of £157,000 as Saunders set about bringing some overdue footballing success to the city. There were 1 or 2 established favourites, most notably goalkeeper Kevin Keelan. Acrobatic and charismatic, a real crowd pleaser. He would certainly figure in Saunders' plans. As would centre-half Duncan Forbes. The big Scot with the big voice would be Saunders' skipper. Alongside him, forming the rock of the defence, local lad Dave Stringer. Converted from full-back, he'd been at the club for 9 years. What impact did Saunders' arrival have?
Well, it was quite a big change for us all. You know, we had to adapt our ideas to the manager and learn to play to his methods. And he installed, you know, plenty of hard work into our side.
What way was the image of the club changed on the playing side?
Well, I think we had more determination all round, with all the players dedicated to one thing, promotion. Was this a pretty painful process at times? Well, in training it was very painful. You know, we had to go through a lot of hard work, you know, and it was quite painful.
His first team talk to us was in pre-season. He sat on the ball in the middle of us, and he had a magnificent frame for a chap of his age. I think by looking at him, players thought, well, we ain't going to mix with you, you know, because he knows what he wants. He said, if you want to come with me, he said, I want to get promoted to the First Division. If you don't want to come with me, I'm in my office after training, knock on the door and I'll get rid of you. And that was his first words, so we knew he meant business.
He certainly did. But while this fitness fanatic and bodybuilder placed the emphasis on hard graft and commitment, Saunders complemented those attributes with a fair smattering of skill. Doug Livermore brought top-class experience from Liverpool. He played 14 first-team games under the legendary Bill Shankly.
Shanks was a hard taskmaster, and when I spoke to Ron at Norwich before I signed, he was very similar in his thoughts about his beliefs in what you should do off the park as well as on the park, and he was a great disciplinarian, and I grew up with that at Liverpool. So it wasn't a problem, and I was pleased to hear Ron Saunders talking about the discipline, what we will be doing, what we won't be doing. You can't do this 2 days before a game, no golf, drinking, etc. And I just took to him, and he was similar to what I'd been used to, which was great.
Alongside Livermore, Graham Padden in what was to become a much vaunted midfield. Swashbuckling, a mean left foot from any distance, he was another with First Division pedigree. And up front, signed from Reading, there was Peter Sylvester. 11 goals in his first season, another 15 the year after, a centre-forward in the traditional mould.
I was Ron's first signing in the September of that year, which was '69, shortly to be followed by Graham and then Dougie after that. So he was bringing in a group of, we were all 21 at that time, and he was wanting to add the youth to the existing old-timers like Duncan and Dave that he had here at that time, to develop the nucleus of the side.
I was in Coventry's first team at 18, and I played a few games, and they said, well, Norwich fancy you, you want to go? And I was shocked. I said, you mean you want to sell me? So they said, well, you know, we'd like you to consider it. So I said, where is it? And they said, Norwich. And that's when I said, well, where's that? You know what I mean? Because it was off the beaten track, really, so to speak.
A couple of years before Padden had strayed off the beaten track, Scottish winger Kenny Foggo had made a similar journey from the Midlands. He joined Norwich from West Bromwich Albion. Another crowd favourite, not least because of his eye and quite often head for goal. He was diminutive, fast, tricky. Leading scorer in each of Saunders' first 2 years in charge, twice player of the season. He would be another key player in the campaign to come. Ron Saunders' team was beginning to take shape, and if the manager took a military-like command of events at Troush Training Ground, there was no doubt who called the shots on the pitch come match day.
Yes, it made me captain, yeah, because I think it was because I had the loudest voice. All the years I've been in professional football, even at school, I was always captain every team that I played for, and that was because I had the loud voices.
Duncan, when you're on the field, what do you think your role is?
Well, apart from your usual defensive roles, the main thing is you've got to shout at the lads, encourage them, you know, and keep them going. And I've got quite a loud voice, like, you know, and this helps me tremendous. Like,
Where did this phrase, keep your voice down to a roar, come from?
Well, at the end of last season we went over to Portugal to play in a tournament over there, and there was a Scottish team over there, Dundee, you know, and after a couple of days they heard my voice and somebody was shouted out the window to me, keep your voice down to a roar. You know, and this is where it's come from, like, you know, from these Dundee lads, you know, that we met over in Portugal.
Well, that trip to Portugal was a pre-season tour, which went very well. Norwich returned home with a trophy to show for their efforts, although legend has it, it got broken on the way home. Even so, the signs were good as they approached the new season. They started the campaign at Luton, Graham Padden's penalty earning a 1-1 draw. That was followed by a 3-1 win at home to Portsmouth, then 2 goalless draws at Fulham and at home to Orient, and a 1-0 home win against Carlisle. Norwich was third in the table, but with only 5 goals scored, the locals weren't impressed. There was even talk of a boycott at the next home game. Seemed a touch harsh. Anyway, victory at Blackpool put paid to that, and there was a respectable crowd of more than 14,000 at Carrow Road for the visit of Oxford. All helped, no doubt, because victory here and Norwich could go top of the table. And that's precisely what happened. City came from behind to win 3-2. 1 goal for Trevor Howard, 2 for Peter Sylvester. And sure enough, the Canaries took their place at the top of the perch. Nobody could complain about that. Played 7, still undefeated, as were Millwall down in 5th. Keep an eye out for them. Victories at Bristol City and Preston, 1-0 and 2-0 respectively, were to follow, and it was all looking very good. But Ron Saunders clearly felt there was room for improvement. And at the beginning of October, striker David Croft from Rochdale arrived at Carrow Road for the princely sum of £40,000. He soon established himself in the side as Norwich went from strength to strength, breaking club records on the way, 14 league and cup games unbeaten. Still, they were top of the table as they went into the return league match with Luton at Carrow Road.
Hallam lays it back to Mike Keane. There's an opening. That's it. And a great goal for Luton. A good one from Slam. And Phelan, well beaten. Beautifully set up by Mike Keane, number 8. The unselfish thing by Mike Keane there would have been to shoot himself, but choosing his moment absolutely right, pushing it square to put Luton in the lead through Alan Slapp. Butler to Sylvester. There's Forbes. Cross going into the middle for the long, deep cross. Ken Foggo coming in. What a great goal. What a beautiful run. What a lovely run from Foggo. And Barber caught in two minds, but you've got to give the credit to number 11 and that long ball from Duncan Forbes. And suddenly, from nowhere, Norwich City are square. Edge of the goal area. Two men behind him, Ryan and Keane. Here's Forbes. Ryan not getting in the way, but luckily Shanks does. So it's the young Shanks getting, there he is, getting Luton out of trouble there when the more experienced players almost let them down. Again the long one. Forbes coming to it. Forbes returning again. Oh, and it's a good shot. A good one. A great move again from this Forbes-Foggo duo. Ken Foggo with his second, and Duncan Forbes with that cross. There he is. My word, he came onto that one fast again. Cross, of course, according to Ron Saunders' standards, won't yet be match fit. He doesn't believe that anybody come from any other club can be match fit. Callum and Butler pushing each other off there. And Cross getting it, setting it up for Ken Foggo. Has he got a chance for a hat-trick here? Oh, there's a good chance. Here's the one for... But a lot of the credit to number 9, David Cross. That ties up the result, that one from Trevor Howard. But don't forget David Cross, the man who got the ball away from Luton in the first place, set it up for Ken Foggo, and then on to Trevor Howard.
13 games played, Norwich still unbeaten, and now 3 points clear at the top of the table. Indeed, this was to become a familiar sight. Norwich City and Millwall, the big rivals in the championship chase. Plenty of interest then come the next game when the Canaries prepared to meet Millwall at the Den. At the training ground as ever, Saunders barked out the orders.
Oh! Oh, it should have been volleyed, Greg. Yeah. Ah, there they are! Go on, Doug, go on! Yes, come on.
This then was the meeting of the two unbeaten teams in the second division. What were Ron Saunders' thoughts ahead of the big game?
Well, I would say the results prove that we've got just about the best side in the second division at the moment. And with the average age being so low as it is, we can look forward to the future expecting that we can only get better.
And yet these are the same players, virtually the same players, that got you middle position last year.
Yes, but up to about 7 games to go, we were always contenders even last season. And this season we started off fully expecting, as well as hoping, of course, that we would be up there in the running right from the start.
How do you think you'll be affected by the heavier grounds that are coming up now?
We look forward to them because we rate ourselves the fittest side in this division.
Now, what about the problems of staying unbeaten? You've gone 13 games in the league now without being toppled. Is it difficult to keep the players at a peak?
Well, I think as the games go on, you know, they gain in confidence, they gain in enthusiasm, obviously, and I would think half the battle is just to tickle them up through the week and make sure that when they go out every Saturday, they face everyone as a cup final.
Aren't there problems, though, of getting overconfident?
I would say so, yes, but you see, we've gone 13 league games without defeat and 2 cup games without defeat, which makes it 15. If we had 4 pre-season games, it starts adding up a bit. I would say if we were down at the bottom and we'd gone 13 games without a win, then the problems would really be there. At the moment, the problems are only problems which we can well look after.
Ron Saunders talked tactics with his playmaker-in-chief, Doug Livermore. Foggo practised his corners. Forbes, as ever, used his head. while David Cross was still looking for his first goal for the Canaries.
How do you feel about the Millwall match?
The same as we feel about every match, very confident.
You've got 3 points in the lead now. It would be very useful to get 2 more, presumably.
Well, it'd be marvellous. It'd be marvellous. If we can go the next 10 games without losing another point, we must be in with a great chance.
Do you ever go out in a tough match like this one, willing to settle for a draw?
Well, going away from home, if before you go on the park, you say, all right, we'll call it no score draw, you go home, we'd probably be delighted to go home. I think every club in the country would. Any point earned away from home is happened to be very hard earned. But the way we're playing at the moment, you know, if someone turned around and gave us odds against us not winning on Saturday, then I think there'd be quite a few that would be prepared to take the odds.
Are you willing to talk at this early stage about promotion?
We talk about promotion all the time amongst ourselves. I mean, this is what it's all about. This is why they work so hard in it, because we want one thing, we want First Division football.
And so the top 2 lined up for the Second Division's match of the day. But it wasn't to be Norwich City's day. Dave Stringer scored an own goal in a 2-1 defeat. The Canaries' proud record unbeaten run had come to an end. Worse still, in the next match, a 2-1 win over Cardiff at Carrow Road, Duncan Forbes injured his hamstring. The skipper would be out for 4 months and 18 games.
How big a setback was it when Duncan Forbes had this protracted injury of his?
Well, it was obviously a big setback, you know, because he was one of the regulars. We only had the young boy, Steve Covey, to come in. And he came in, and I felt that the tensions and the pressures he was playing under didn't let him adjust at the speed he would have wanted. We then took Bobby Bell on loan from Crystal Palace, and he did a good job for us, you know, and helped us out, I think, for about 4 games. But without any doubt, Dunk was missed.
I would felt this was the worst period in my career as a professional footballer. You know, the longer the injury went on, I began to wonder if I was going to be able to play again. You know, it was getting that way. You know, and this was one of the few injuries I've ever had. You know, and I'd never been injured before, and I was beginning to worry about it. You know, and I thought that it was hanging on a bit, and I was beginning to get a little bit concerned with the injury. You know.
Forbes or no Forbes, Norwich continued to set the pace at the top of the table. A 2-1 win at Hull was followed by the visit of Birmingham City in front of more than 24,000 fans. Forbes' deputy, Steve Govia, scored one of the goals. He also conceded a penalty, and he would fill in for only 3 games. Peter Sylvester was City's other scorer in a 2-2 draw. And so on to mid-December, and top versus bottom at Carrow Road. Struggling Watford, the visitors, Graham Paddon scored on his 100th appearance, but Norwich had to settle for a 1-1 draw. The Christmas visit of Charlton brought 2 goals for Kenny Foggo, the first, another of his flying headers. There was also another big gate, more than 31,000, to see a welcome return to winning ways. Peter Sylvester scored in a 3-0 win, but it was to be Sylvester's last goal in the promotion campaign. A cartilage injury against Preston a few weeks later meant Sylvester would miss the rest of the season. It was a cruel blow, but at least Norwich had gone into the new year on top of the pile. The promotion challenge very much on course.
When was it that you considered that you had a promotion nucleus here?
I would say practically, we could say that the stage was probably halfway through last season, because we were doing very well. It was about 7 games from the end of last season. We realised that we weren't in with a chance then. But we felt then that if this coming season we got off to a good start, we must have a chance.
Now, quite a number of the players, in fact all of them, have improved out of all recognition from when they first arrived or when you first found them. In what way have some of these guys improved?
In what way? Well, obviously, you know, with experience they become more experienced. In the framework of the method that we do, they've become more polished. They've learned to express themselves at the same time playing a system. I would say they've improved all round as all-round footballers.
We would probably be classed as bread and butter players, but we were raised to a level where we were a good unit, good team, with a smattering of good skill in there as well. When you look at Graham, of course, he went on to play for West Ham, played in European games, and was rated as one of a skillful player. Maxi Briggs, very skillful on the ball.
The midfield was probably the best in the division that season. Kenny Foggo, who was an old mean player. I mean, he was excellent, Kenny. You had Keelan, who was an extrovert. You had the two stalwarts, Dave and Duncan. And you had proven goal scorers in Jimmy Bowen, Crossy and Peter Sylvester at the early start of the season.
Dougie Livermore was the engine of the side, up and down, and of course though Terry Anderson, who unfortunately is no longer with us, played a unique part in that. But I think everybody had their own way of playing and unique skills to the side, and I think people like David Cross also when he came. But prior to that, Trevor Howard did an excellent job. So all in all, I think we were a fairly good bunch of players.
Even to this day, Peter, I always have fond memories of Peter Sylvester, and I really enjoyed playing with him. We seemed to click, and I think in the promotion year, I had a bad spell right after Peter got injured, and I certainly missed him.
They used to say about Singer and forwards being tight at the back, and by Jove they were. They never give the forwards an inch. But not only were they tight at the back, but by Jove, it was hard work to get a drink off them in a bar, I'll tell you.
Kenny Foggo used to get his 10-12 goals from the wing. Graham Parney, he used to score plenty with his left foot. Stringer and Forbes, as the old saying, tight at the back. And you had Keelan and goal.
Kevin was renowned for being probably a little bit of a playboy image, one that, you know, was more interested outside the game in doing things rather than inside the game. But when Ron came, he really got him buttoned down, if you like, to play as well as he's ever played. And some of the performances that he put in through that season, I've got to say, is probably one of the best goalkeepers that Norwich has probably had.
Can you be capped for England if you're born in Calcutta? No, I don't know, but I would think Kevin Keelan, yeah, he was probably the best uncapped goalkeeper I've ever seen. Number he stops he used to make with his legs and his body. Oh, he was very good. But when you've got a good goalkeeper, and that promotion year, there was times where you're maybe sitting on a 1-0 lead, or you're 1-1 and you need a point or something. He would, if somebody got through, he produced the goods, and you would have to say he was excellent. You know, he was superb. And if you look about round about that time, there's some good goalkeepers, wasn't there? There was Banks and Sean. But nowadays, I would think if Keelan was playing, he must have come in under some recognition for a full cap.
Kevin Keelan, now living in America, upholding the Norwich City tradition for fine goalkeepers and firmly established in the Canary Hall of Fame. And with 11 clean sheets to his name in the league come February, Norwich and Millwall were still first and second. It was time for the top two to do battle once more, this time at Carrow Road. This one had been eagerly awaited in the city. 34,118 were there to see it.
And the tension comes off the Norwich City defence for a moment. Kitchener in some trouble there. Cross puts him under great pressure. Here's Livermore, but Kitchener getting hold of it in the end. Can he get it away? Oh, a good opening. Does Livermore. And an error at the back. Barry Kitchener had 2 attempts to get that one away, and he failed to do it. A sign of the jitteriness in the Millwall defence, which has been evident in this first half, and Norwich punish it. Doug Livermore. Briggs, but Dawn is onto him too quickly. Dorney again, neatly aside to Bolland. Bridges down there. Bell tightly marking him and getting that quick tackle in. But the tackle a little bit tight. Oh, it's a great one. It's a beautiful touch. Posse the scorer, and that quick free kick from Eamon Dunphy, catching Norwich City out. failed to mark him as he came racing across the face of the area, and as the indications were early in the game, this set-piece move from Millwall was going to cause a lot of trouble. Now the rival fans competing with each other for noise. Livermore, Dunphy though, Ken Foggo, and it's a good one for Anderson. Can he get there? He can, it's there! Cross. But what a great piece of play by Anderson. And Cross puts Norwich City back into the lead. Second half really opening up now. It's his 5th goal of the season. He's had a lean spell, but he did some very, very good running there to get to that one. So a corner the other side. It was really electric here. Bridges moving to the near post. Cripps right at the back. Oh, it's there! Bolland the scorer. Surprisingly, ease of getting up for that one. Bolland, as if it were a practice game, unchallenged, just poking it into that by that near post, giving Kevin Keenan no chance whatsoever. And again, the scores are even, 2 goals each.
At least Norwich maintained their 3-point lead, but that 2-2 draw came in the middle of a worrying run. A draw at Cardiff and a 4-0 thrashing at St Andrews meant City had taken only 3 points from 5 games. It was time for action, and Ron Saunders delved once again into the transfer market to sharpen up an attack clearly missing the injured Peter Sylvester. He paid £30,000 for striker Jimmy Bone. It was something of a culture shock for the part-timer from Partick Thistle.
Well, I found it very difficult at the start, because the training down here is a lot more concentrated, and, well, being full-time, it was very hard, they worked hard at it.
Did you notice any pressure on the players when you came? Yeah,
there was a great deal of pressure on the players, I didn't find it so much myself, because, well, I'd just been promoted last year before I came, and I played in a cup final, and it was my way back down, and it's starting to build up,
Jimmy Bone made his home debut against Sunderland, a team with promotion aspirations of their own. The game also saw the long-awaited return of skipper Duncan Forbes. But a 1-1 draw meant it was now 6 league games without a win, and Norwich, for so long leaders of the second division, were off the top, a point behind Millwall. But the good news was Jimmy Bone got City's goal, a powerful header in front of the river end. And the Scot, soon to earn international recognition, had become an instant hit with the Norwich supporters.
The supporters were very good because they started to turn out in great numbers. And personally, I had a wonderful time with the supporters. It's hard to believe, but I only played at Norwich for 1 year, and when I look back on it, it was just, I was treated exceptionally well. They really took to me when I first went, and they were very good to me throughout the time, but they were very vociferous, and from the part of England where Norwich is situated, they're laid back, everything's easy-ozy, but they really got a grip of it, and I think they believed after the Easter term as well that Norwich were going to go up, and they showed it.
Bone is on his own, he needs a bit of help. Now Bone coming, and he's only got Butler to get past. He could do this. Butler coming in, he's waiting for a bit of support though. Things are closed up, he's going into a dangerous position. He's almost there. And it was Trollope to get it away.
Jimmy Bone was renowned for picking the ball up on the halfway line and going through about 5 or 6 players and scoring goals. And, I think people would look at him and think not so much skill, but he'd get about 16 rebounds off people and stick it in the back of the net. But he kept on going and had the resilience to do that.
And Norwich would need to show resilience if they were to sustain their challenge. In midweek, on March the 15th, Hull City were back at Carrow Road, 2 months to the day after they'd been here and knocked the Canaries out of the FA Cup, 3-0. Tonight, there would be no repeats. Goals from Trevor Howard and Kenny Foggo saw to that. A 2-0 win in front of another 30,000-plus crowd. Norwich City were back on top of the table. From now, it would be a test of character and of stamina. This was the time when those agonising training sessions up and down Moushold Heath would pay dividends.
Those bunny hops had hurt, but fitness would count for everything in the run-in to the end of the season. No pain, no gain.
We'd run probably a long distance run to start with, and we'd think, well, that's it, you know, we're going back now. Then he'd take us to another hill, we'd hop up that hill, run down, hop on the other leg, run down, hop on both legs, and then they had a sand hill there which you had to run up in between doing these things.
In all fairness, I mean, that was one of the reasons that we did get promotion, because we weren't the greatest talented team, although we did have a lot of talent. But our fitness was far superior to anybody else in the league. And I remember playing against Stoke one year, and they said, well, we can't play against this because you keep on running. And that was, you know, Ron said to me, he said, you'll be a decent player when you get fit. I said, I am fit. He said, not my fitness. So, Mousehole used to terrify me.
You know, Mousehold Heath, we used to have to run up and down there carrying weights and different stuff. You know, and it was a real culture shock when I went down from Scotland. You know, I'd worked with Dave McParland, a part of Thistle, and every day we'd go out and we'd do these ball exercises, and we try to improve your knowledge and your touch on the ball, and then all of a sudden we went down here and this Sergeant Major type was standing there making you run up and down hills and doing bunny hops up and down hills, and you were very fit, but you had to be the way you wanted the game played. But it was successful.
If we weren't going very well, if the team weren't playing very well, he'd take us up there in the morning, and sometimes he would say after the training in the morning, don't have too much for lunch because we're coming up here again in the afternoon.
When we played against side, we just ran them off the park. I can remember centre forwards and strikers saying to us, stand still for God's sake, you know, we're shattered, we can't keep with you. As soon as the ball was in the keeper's hands, we'd make the halfway line as quickly as possible, with Duncan, you know, pushing everybody forward, and the keeper delivering the ball. They just couldn't stay with it. It was a general wearing down of the opposition, wearing down their resolve, and then we took control of the game.
You mentioned Mousehole earlier, and I mean, just the mention of that word sends my legs a little bit. And jelly, especially the sand part at the end, it was quite strenuous. I even gave up golf after that because I was afraid of bunkers.
What's your attitude to discipline and to training generally for players?
Well, players like to know what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. They like someone to show them and to help them. And I think that it's as simple as that, you know. My job was to show them what was wanted and what wasn't wanted. And, well, being all honest people, this is what they wanted, and we had no problem.
Was that your attitude when you were a player? You like somebody to show you and be tough with you?
I didn't say be tough, I said to show me. Yeah, certainly. You know, a player always wants to know what the manager wants. And then if you know what he wants, then you've got a chance. If you're not sure what he wants, then you've got a real problem.
But don't you consider yourself a tough man?
No,
tough manager?
No, I'm a gentleman.
We couldn't argue with the training because at the end of the day we were up the top right from the start that season. We were always up in the top 6 to start. So, and everything was going well. So the training took its own course. But also we used to he used to give us some pills. I don't know if anybody's mentioned this. We used to get a yeast spike tablet, then we used to get 2 wheat jams, and also the big one was like a Contact 900, and it, would you believe, it was green and yellow. And we used to take these tablets all together once a week, and every Friday George Lee, the trainer, used to bring them up to Trouse, and we used to take them. And of course we were doing well, so everybody said, well, here's the tablets, George, you got them, yeah? And then when they go home till George Lee had come down the ground and got these tablets before they left on a Friday. And I'm not saying that was, you know, that was behind it all, but it was just, once again, it was Saunders' a little psychology.
Psychology, pep pills, fitness, everything came into play as Norwich prepared for the run-in. Next up, Blackpool at Carrow Road.
And Hatton really scything through there. And the flag goes up again. And on the spot, a penalty within the first minute and a half of this game. And Burridge, the goalkeeper, complaining bitterly. Well, what a sensational start. 1 minute and 30 seconds of the game gone. Blackpool, a half-hearted protest. Mickey Burns there is getting a little bit too involved. And Sotheby, number 4, 2 teachers who perhaps ought to know better in this circumstance. But a first-class opportunity and a real test for Burridge here before he's even got warmed up. And the pressure on Padden now. Can he give his side a really exciting start? And the wind, you can tell there, blowing very, very strongly. Just that little bit extra attention to put on Graham Padden. No trouble. And that surely must take a tremendous amount of pressure off this Norwich City side. Just the sort of thing they want. In the last few games they've put a lot of pressure on sides, but they haven't been able to get that early breakthrough. But now, from Graham Padden's spot kick, just over 2 minutes on the clock, they're 1-0 in the lead. Dyson, the man on the edge of the goal area here. Up goes Dyson and Stringer. Kevin Keelan coming to it from Suddick's header. Payne pumping it up to the two men up front, Bone and Cross. Too strong by Bone, but Cross has got a lot of room to turn. Bone comes to the near post, here he is. Oh, and it's a fine header from behind him. Kenny Foggo. So, number 2, and the cross from David Cross, taken almost by Jim Bone. Round of applause there from not only the crowd, but Ken Foggo for David Cross for getting that one over. Jim Bone went to it, took a lot of the defenders, including the goalkeeper, with him, and Kenny Foggo was there to pick it up just behind him. And 2-0 in the lead now with 22 minutes gone. Hatton pumping one forward for Sotheby, who's gone up there. Now Burns. And a free kick against Mickey Burns here. Looked like a fair 50-50 ball there, but the referee right on the spot gives it to Norwich City, and I don't expect many of the fans are complaining too much. A little bit dangerous there, and it's a good bit of play. And did it rob him? He's given it. Mickey Burns, a quick bit of thought. And indecisive play there between the Norwich goalkeeper and David Stringer allows Mickey Burns to nip in. And the Blackpool leading scorer gets them back into the game. Sotheby in there hard. Dyson, can he turn on Forbes or set Burns up? This is Burns. Didn't quite run for him. Got away by Payne, and here's Padden with 2 men free on the right. This is one of them, Ken Foggo. Bone is just inside him, but now he's marked up. Cross the far man. Cross gets up beautifully. What a brilliant goal. And what a beautiful cross, as Graham Padden indicates to Ken Foggo. An inch-perfect cross from Ken Foggo, and the perfect far post header from David Cross. Straight out of defence. Some good, quick, accurate passing, and some wonderful finishing. Give Norwich City a clear lead again with 37 minutes of this first half gone. Although we've had 4 goals, it's really only the first time the crowd has come alive. Norwich City doing most of it on their own, including a little bit for Blackpool. Keelan can get this one if he wants it. And a free kick given against Glyn James. Well, they've shown a lot of ability in the air, and here's another one for them. And it is another goal, and this time it's Bone. And the goalkeeper not quite sure whether to come or go, and in the end Bones touched behind him, beating him decisively. Payne controlling that awkward ball well. And another good bit of control from Cross, and then setting up Foggo well, and here's another one for chance number 5, and well stopped by Burridge. But Cross was at the back of that one with some good control. Now Patton. Foggo given the room to turn in that position, which is unusual. Now Padden with a chance to set it up on his left foot. And swinging away from the goalkeeper. Goal number 5, leaving John Burridge absolutely helpless. So Norwich City break new ground. They get 5 goals, certainly for the first time this season, and easily their best win of the season if this is the way the scoreline stays.
It certainly was, and it meant the Division 2 table now looks like this. Norwich and Millwall locked together on 46 points from 34 games, just 8 to play, with Birmingham coming up quickly in 3rd place. The hectic Easter holiday brought 4 points from 3 games in just 4 days. But let's now reflect on the mood at these unprecedented times. Here's how Jerry Harrison reported on promotion fever, Norwich City style.
Local supporters haven't always been as convinced as Ron Saunders which road the club was taking. Rebuilding can be a painful business. Just over 2 years ago, after a depressing cup defeat by Wrexham, the gate here was 7,700, the lowest for 12 years. That day, in reply, the team had their biggest win of the season, 4-1 over Bristol City. All the players are quick to acknowledge the support the Barclays stand gives them. But this season, they were top of the table and into October before the gates topped the 20,000 mark. It was the League Cup and Chelsea which produced the first 30,000 crowd. But by the end, crowd packing was part of the routine here, and against Bristol City, ironically enough, 35,076, the biggest league gate for 13 years. Way out west in the wilds of Anfield, Goodison and Old Trafford, they shout first and ask questions afterwards. Here it's different. Doug Livermore was the only one who had experienced consistently large English gates. What did he think of the crowd here compared with Liverpool?
Well, I thought when I first came down here it was very much different to Liverpool because, well, Liverpool, as you know, are a very successful side and they had big crowds. And whereas I came down here and we were getting 14 or 15,000, and instead of cheering it was a lot of clapping, like, you know. But whereas when this season we played Chelsea and the atmosphere was electric, everybody was excited and they were all cheering, they were really going at it.
The gates were superb. When you come out that tunnel and you looked up at the south stand and you saw all these people there, and as you come out the tunnel then, the roar went up, and then you had River End and all these people there, the Barclay, and I think, well, nowadays everybody sits down, but for real atmosphere, you would have to say people have to stand up.
Well, there were plenty standing as the season reached a climax at Carrow Road. City would finish the campaign with 2 away games, so it was vital to take maximum points from their last 2 home matches.
With Cross, in comes Forbes. And Howard. Away by Clements, taking no chances and conceding a corner. But again, more injuries in there. This time David Stringer. And the other number 4, Colin Prophet. Stringer will take his position for this 8th corner of the game, and Prophet, who's done such good deeds at the back for Sheffield Wednesday, to go back and cover him. Bone is on the goal line. It's a goal from Forbes. Duncan Forbes, his first goal of the season, and the big breakthrough. For Norwich crowd to shout about. The one goal which for most of the game they never looked like getting, and indeed Sheffield Wednesday had deprived them of so gallantly and with such good play. But their captain, Duncan Forbes, been such a miserable season for him, been out for such a long time with that Achilles tendon. Now his first goal of the season puts 2 points within 7 minutes away.
We only scored 2 goals that season, and that was, the first one was against Sheffield Wednesday, and the second one was, I think, the last home game here against Swindon. But I remember the goals as if I was jumping up now and I was heading them in. I went in and I just dropped back and I just headed it and I just powered it in, and it just hit the underside of the crossbar and went in at the river end, and that was the only goal of the game. It went long to go. And then we moved on to Old Swindon, and what happened there was Graham Padden, if I don't know if you remember, he always had a long throw, and I always used to go up for a long throw for him and try and back head it. Well, this time he took the long throw and they headed it out, and I was going to run back into defence because I thought, well, I better get back quick, but I stayed in, and it went back to Graham Padden, who got it on his left foot, beat the chap on the outside, and twisted it, and I could see it. And big Frank Burrows, I still see him about when I'm travelling about now. He was the centre half for Swindon, and he just got underneath it, and I knew as soon as that ball come over his head, I knew I was going to score.
Padden picks the loose one up. Players going over to the far post again, racing away, and it's a good one. A fine header from Forbes. Duncan Forbes. He changed direction very fast there. He was first of all on one side of the penalty area, then as the play was switched for Padden's cross to come across from the left-hand side, he backed away and was in an isolated position to give Norwich City an ideal lead just before half-time. And what a vital breakthrough with 4 minutes to go before the break.
No goalkeeper could have saved that header. It went right up into the junction, and Frank Swift, who was the greatest goalkeeper ever, would never have saved it. I'll remember these goals forever. And unfortunately for us, we kept a clean sheet, so we won both games.
They were precious goals indeed, and those 2 victories meant Forbes and his teammates travelled to the capital 48 hours later, needing a win against Orient to ensure promotion. Around 3,000 City fans also went to Brisbane Road that Monday night, hoping to witness history in the making. Kenny Foggo put City on their way with the first goal, and Graham Padden added a second from the penalty spot. Norwich ran out 2-1 winners. There had been success before, of course, the League Cup in 1962, the FA Cup run in 58-59, and promotion from the 3rd Division. But this was extra special. 70 years after their formation in 1902, Norwich City were in English football's top flight.
So there was a little bit of champagne brought into the dressing room, but most of the lads refused it. I bet, yes. And then on the coach home, I think we stopped at a pub on the 11 somewhere and just carried on. I don't think I went to bed that night.
But I remember the celebrations all the way back, you know, of our fans, the coaches that were going back along the through Epping and places like that, you know. And I believe that some guy even cut out the penalty spot and took that home as a souvenir. And I remember Ron Saunders throwing Alan Black's boots out the window, his actual shoes that he was wearing.
Oh, we went back in the coach, and there was, the Norwich supporters were out, the coach was stopped, they were drinking, it was just superb. Yeah.
City supporters, more than 10,000 of them, were back on the road with Ron Saunders and the boys come the weekend for the final match of the season at Watford. This time, a point was needed to clinch the 2nd Division Championship. Watford were bottom of the table by some distance. They'd long been relegated, but they would do their best to spoil the party. All was going well, though, when Dave Stringer rose like the proverbial salmon to put Norwich ahead. The celebrations began. A touch prematurely, though. Watford equalised and left Norwich to play out some tense final moments until the final whistle. 1-1, Norwich were up, and up as champions.
They didn't play all that well, because it was a terrible surface. I don't know if you remember it. It was flooded. But we hung on for 1-1, and then they just, I think they were away at one end, and I think the 16,000 ran onto the pitch and just grabbed a hold of you, and they were trying to rip things off you and try to, get your shot. But we went up into the stand and we come along, and we were playing in red, and we took off the red shirts and we just threw them. And years afterwards, some chap wrote me a letter saying, "I've still got your red shirt and nobody's ever going to get this off me." But it was it was superb.
Sometimes you don't realise how important it was to everybody. And since, I mean, everybody's mentioned it. Whenever they talk about, you know, can you remember the time you scored the goal? And I think, you know, I'm getting fed up with this goal at Watford because that's the only thing they remember about. I played nearly 650 games in my career, and that's the one game. And that does bring it home to me to know that the people of Norfolk, that was the thing that they were most wanting.
I think I would have liked to have played the last match at home in front of the supporters, really. I think that would have been special. Well, I would imagine they'd have been camping out overnight to get a place at Carrow Road if it had been at home. So that was a little bit of an anticlimax, having to play the last two matches away from home, because we didn't sort of go to Carrow Road as champions, you know, and sort of see our own supporters, even although there was thousands of them at Watford and at Orient.
You know, the scenes in the town after the club had achieved it was exceptional, you know, at the town hall, and, you know, everywhere you went, everybody was really up that the team at Norwich City were actually in the first division, you know, and I think it really brought the community together.
We went to the City Hall, and I got presented with a trophy as I was captain. We went on the balcony there, and then this chap, Shipman, presented me with the second division championship trophy, and just went, you know, just give it to the whole crowd, yeah. And I had to say a few words and say that I'll try and keep my voice down to run. Spoke to the Norwich people. It was really top class.
There was also a trophy for Dave Stringer, City's ever-present player of the season. And in this year of unprecedented Canary success, there was also another classic performance. Another record in a chart-topping season.
We're the football team in the yellow and green. Norwich City is our name. We will play it fair as the fans all cheer as we march on the road to fame. The Canaries, let the name ring loud and clear, and we'll keep right on with the Norwich song. The Canaries is the name. Here at Carrow Road we are in the mood. We will never admit defeat. How we love to hear when the fans all cheer as we march on to victory. The Canaries, let the name ring loud and clear, and we'll keep right on with the Norwich song. The Canaries is the name.
Kevin Keelan in goal was exceptional keeper. 5 Payne, Duncan Forbes, Dave Stringer, Alan Black, Jeff Butler, Terry Anderson, Maxie Briggs, Graham Padden, Kenny Foggo, Peter Sylvester, Trevor Howard, David Cross, Jim Bone. We had a tremendous team spirit.
Now the future and the First Division. Immediately, what's your attitude to taking this group of players or this team into the First Division?
I'm delighted to do so.
Does it frighten you?
I think the last time I was frightened was when I ran out the dentist at about 7 years old.